Welcome to HFY Stories. Please subscribe to the channel. Your one click means the world to me. The cannon's charge whine filled the processing bay, and Tors was already running straight at it. 3 months earlier, nobody would have believed this scene was coming. 3 months earlier, the whole fleet thought she was a joke. It started in the training arena, under lights that buzzed against the ozone smell of spent charge packs. Commander Vexthrall watched from the gallery as the newest recruit crossed the deck, small, dark-haired, boots quiet on the plating, hip weighted by something no one else in that arena carried, a blade in a wooden sheath. Beside him, Lieutenant Crawl's 4 eyes narrowed to slits. 30 years of combat had taught the Dorvian officer what a weapon should look like, and this wasn't it. "Tell me that's a joke," he muttered. The recruit, Tors, according to her file, didn't flinch at the distance. "Something funny, Lieutenant." Crawl's scales rippled, low and unimpressed. He stepped forward until the deck groaned under him. "Every soldier who trains here carries plasma, rail slug, or worse. You brought a kitchen knife to a war." "You mock what you don't understand," Tors said. "Guess that's standard procedure around here." That did it. Crawl had built a reputation as the fleet's hardest instructor, and he wasn't going to let some backwater recruit needle him in front of witnesses. He laid out terms himself. 1 strike, full effort, against his combat armor while he stood still. If she couldn't mark it, she'd trade the sword for a real weapon and never mention this again. Vexthrall leaned on the rail, curious despite himself. Humans had joined the coalition only 8 cycles back, mostly known for turning disasters into victories through methods nobody could quite explain. He wanted to see what this one would do. Tors drew the blade. The sound wasn't a ring, it was closer to breath. Before Crawl could object to a warm-up, she'd already crossed to a training dummy and put 2 cuts through it. The top half slid free like it had never been attached. Compressed polymer armor analog, cut clean, no scorch, no crack. The gallery went quiet. Crawl held his ground when she turned toward him, jaw set, plates squared. She studied him for 3 full seconds, then moved 1 step, 1 turn of the hip, the blade arriving almost too fast to track. It landed on his chest plate with a sound like a whisper. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Crawl started to gloat. Then his armor came apart. Not an explosion, a disassembly, 7 pieces sliding to the deck with edges polished mirror-smooth, his undershirt beneath untouched. He stared down at himself, scales gone flat with something between shock and grief. "How?" he managed. "Armor's got grain, same as wood," Tors said, wiping the blade. "You find the seam, you don't fight the material, you just ask it to open." Vexthrall was already moving down the stairs, protocol forgotten. Every ship in the fleet ran combat armor rated against energy and impact, and nothing else. "You're telling me any trained human could do this?" "Trained well," Tors said. "Maybe 30 of us could do what I just did. It's not the metal, it's 30 years of learning where metal breaks." Crawl picked up a piece of his own armor, saw his face in the cut. "I called your weapon a museum piece." "You did." "I was wrong." The words cost him visibly. "I owe you an apology, and I owe Fleet Command a redesign brief." Word spread fast. Within weeks, 7 more human blade specialists were pulled from ceremonial postings and put into live training. Vexthrall filed a formal review. Nobody laughed anymore. Then came the distress call from Outpost Granite Ridge, raiders, Korvac's military surplus, prisoners taken for the slave trade. 50 coalition soldiers dropped onto the moon's grey rock, Tors among them, alongside fellow blade carriers Webb and Tanaka. The command center fell in 18 seconds flat, 3 humans moving through raiders who'd never trained against anything but guns. A locked warehouse full of hostages fell to 3 silent cuts through a prefab wall nobody thought to reinforce. It should have ended there. It didn't. "They've got a mech," came the call over comms, and Tors felt the floor of her stomach drop out. Korvac's heavy assault chassis, 3 meters of plated fury, weapons tracking anything that moved. Delta team was pinned, taking losses. "We can't cut that armor," Webb shouted. already bleeding from where the machine had backhanded him into a wall. Not the armor, Tor said, watching the joints, the seams, the places engineers always left thinner because a machine has to bend somewhere. The gaps. She stepped into open ground, arms wide, sword low. Over here, she called, and the mech's targeting array lit her up head to toe. This is the part Fleet Command would replay 17 times. Tor's, 130 pounds of human, sprinting not away from a war machine's guns, but underneath them, sliding through plasma-scorched dirt as the cannon fired over her head, blade catching the ankle seal on the way past. Hydraulic fluid sprayed like a wound. The leg locked. Tanaka scaled the crippled machine's spine and put both blades through its optics, one after another, and the mech went blind and screaming, firing at nothing. Webb drove his longsword into the same weakened joint until it gave, and 3 meters of Korvac's war machine dropped to one knee, tilting its chest hatch forward for the first time. Tor's ran up its own fallen leg like a ramp. The molecular edge found the hairline gap between plates before her mind had finished the calculation, instinct built over 300 years of family technique, arriving faster than thought. She twisted the blade like a lever. The hatch screamed open. Inside, the pilot froze, hand halfway to his sidearm, looking up into the shadow of a raised katana and the utter stillness of the woman holding it. "Don't," Tor said, "just that." He didn't. "Power it down, now." The mech went dark, knee still buried in the dirt, and for one long second nobody on that field made a sound. Then Delta Team was moving, securing the pilot, and somewhere behind her Webb was laughing in the particular way people laugh when they've just watched death and walked away from it. 62 hostages went home that day. The captured pilot gave up 3 months of raider logistics before the trip back to Hammerfall was over. Vexthrall found her afterward in his office, the mech footage frozen on his console, her image mid-slide beneath the machine's guns. "You didn't outgun it," he said. "You couldn't have. You read it instead. Solved a modern problem with a method older than spaceflight." "That's the family business," Tor said. "I'm building a unit," he told her. "Mixed species. Human blade doctrine as its spine, but not human only. Every people in this coalition buried knowledge when they went to the stars. I want it dug back up, all of it, and I want you leading the dig." "One condition," Tors said. "It's not us teaching them. It's everyone learning from everyone. Every species in this fleet carried something worth remembering. We just happen to still carry ours." He offered his hand, human style, something he'd practiced in private and never quite gotten right. She shook it anyway. That night she sat in the recreation bay with Webb and Tanaka, the bruises finally catching up to all 3 of them, a captured mech's silhouette still burned faint behind her eyes. Webb turned his glass slowly, watching the light move through it. "We came out here thinking we'd have to prove we belonged," he said. "We did," Tanaka said, "just not the way anybody expected." Tors said nothing. She reached down, unclipped the sheath from her hip, and set it flat on the table between the 3 glasses. 400 years of folded steel, notched now along one edge from a war machine's armor, resting quiet under the bay lights while the ship carried them all forward into whatever came next.